I'm Master Firefighter Tom Parks, and welcome to this edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter. Master Firefighter Mark Henley revisits an old yet very relevant Hazmat training segment from years ago. David Stites brings us another SCBA checklist segment. We catch up with Master Firefighter Bill Murray as he gives us his latest segment in Back to the Basics training. We have Captain Gary Umplett reviewing some information on chainsaws. And now, without further ado, here's your host of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter, Master Firefighter Chris Howie Stockhow.
Thanks, Tom. Howie here. I know you all tune in for the training, so let's get right into it with Master Firefighter Bill Murray with his third and final Back to the Basics training segment on the down firefighter.
Welcome back to Frontline Firefighters Back to the Basics. Master Firefighter Billy Murray here at the Fire Training Center. And today we're going to cover our last installment of the assessment of the down firefighter. In the first two installments, first we covered air management of the down firefighter, and in the second installment we covered a disentanglement of the down firefighter. In this segment we're going to cover the actual removal of the down firefighter. We're going to cover a couple different techniques on how a single firefighter can effectively move a firefighter through a structure out of the building. In this segment, we're going to cover some different techniques on how to remove a down firefighter from a structure. The first technique we're going to cover is what's called a single firefighter drag, or a stiff arm drag, using one firefighter and using the firefighter's SCBA as a harness. The second technique we're going to use is what's called a hinge technique. Again, where you use the firefighter's harness or SCBA straps. And then if those don't work, the firefighter becomes exhausted, we'll teach you an exhausted firefighter technique. The fourth technique we're going to cover is a removal of a down firefighter up a set of stairs, how we can move that firefighter more effectively. One of the first things that we can do when we're trying to move a down firefighter is what's called converting the waist strap. It's not absolutely necessary that we do this every single time, especially if the firefighter is located very close to an exit. We might opt just to go ahead and drag the firefighter out. If we have any difficulty in dragging the firefighter out, or we have to go a long distance, this really pays dividends for keeping the SCBA on the down firefighter. And also, you'll find as you drag down firefighters, the SCBA wants to ride up. It pulls the coat up. It can expose the firefighter's torso to high heat and fire conditions. So the first thing we can do is roll the down firefighter over. And really what we're trying to find is the waist strap. What I do is I hold the buckle in one hand, and then I'll start loosening up the waist strap itself. And there's a reason that I do this, in that a lot of firefighters, when they do this technique, they'll undo the waist strap first, and if you let one of these buckles go, sometimes it's very difficult to find. So what I do is I loosen it up first, then I can loosen it up, undo the buckle. Really what we're doing is we're raising up the down firefighter's leg, clipping it between their legs, and tightening back up. So what we're doing essentially is converting the SCBA into a harness system so that the SCBA doesn't ride up and eventually come off the down firefighter while we're dragging them. It does take a little extra time, but if you practice with it, especially with an obstructed vision, it really doesn't take any time at all. The first removal method we're going to cover is known as the state stiff arm, or the one firefighter stiff arm drag. Essentially what we're doing is using the firefighter's shoulder strap as an anchor point to grab. We can loosen this up a little bit if we want, just don't loosen it up too much. We can tighten it back down if we need to. And essentially what we're doing is we're placing one hand of ours underneath the shoulder strap, and we're going to begin to drag the firefighter towards the exit. This technique is really good, but you have to make sure that you use your legs. If you start to use your bicep, upper body at all, you'll fatigue very easily. So you have to make sure that you use your legs when using this technique. Other thing is, once you get a momentum going, don't stop. All right, so we're going to go under the shoulder strap. We're clear of any obstructions. I've got what I think is my exit point this way. We're going to stay low because of high heat conditions, and we're literally just going to push off with our leg and drag the down firefighter where we need to go. The next technique we're going to cover is what's known as the hinge technique. It's a variation of the state stiff arm. And essentially what we're doing as our grip strength starts to weaken, our arm strength starts to weaken, we can use the advantage of using the SCBA strap of the down firefighter and your SCBA shoulder strap to kind of hold on to the down firefighter while we drag them. First thing we can do is loosen up the down firefighter shoulder strap so we get enough area in here our arm can slide through. And we're going to loosen up our shoulder strap just a little bit. We're going to slide our arm into the down firefighter shoulder strap and grab with our hand our shoulder strap across. Then we can use this hinge to continue to drag the down firefighter towards the exit. The third technique we're going to talk about is the exhausted firefighter technique. When you've used all of your energy, your arms are tired, you can use this technique to gain a couple more inches trying to get the down firefighter out of the building. So ideally we've converted the harness already. The next we're going to do is we're going to get down by the down firefighter and just basically spread our legs around the down firefighter. And what we're doing is we're grabbing onto the down firefighter shoulder strap. We can loosen if we have to. We can grab on with both hands. And essentially what we're doing is we're doing a row. We're using our body weight to pull the down firefighter towards the exit. So 1, 2, 3. We can scoot back. 1, 2, 3. And we just continue this for as far as we can. One more technique that we can use to assist moving a firefighter vertically up a set of stairs is using a piece of webbing. This webbing is a little long, but it's very similar to the piece that's found in the RIP bag. Basically what I've done is tied a water knot in the webbing. And what I'm going to do, we've already converted the firefighter's SCBA harness at his waist straps. I'm going to wrap the webbing around the back plate of the down firefighter to try to make essentially a harness to try to pick them up with. So what we can do is we can half that webbing and basically just stuff it through here a couple times. Okay. And really all we're trying to do is get the firefighter up 6 to 8 inches off the ground when we pick them up. About the normal tread height of a residential commercial stair grade. If we can get them up that high off the ground, we eliminate the problems of the first stage and the UAC dragging on the steps and slowing us down. The technique, once you get them up in the air, go as far as you can until you're exhausted, until you need to take a break, and then you can set them back down. In this segment of Back to the Basics, we covered a couple different ways that you can remove a down firefighter for an occupancy, also vertically up a set of stairs. Next, Back to the Basics, we're going to cover some ground ladders, some throwing techniques. I hope you enjoyed this segment. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me at the training center or email me.
Now let's check in with Master Firefighter Mark Hunley and see what he's reviewing for hazmat training this month. Mark, I understand you did a little digging for this one. What do you have for us?
That's right, Chris. We did dig deep this month to find this video. Just goes to show that the more it changes, the more it stays the same. Placarding labels still provide a huge amount of information.
Hazardous materials are placed into one of 9 classifications. These classifications are designed to categorize the primary danger and assign standardized symbols to identify the classes. The United States, Canada, and Mexico have adopted this system for transportation both internationally and domestically. An explosive is any substance or article, including a device, that is designed to function by explosion or by chemical reaction within itself. A compressed gas is any material that is a gas at 68 degrees Fahrenheit or less at normal atmospheric pressure, or a material that has a boiling point of 68 degrees Fahrenheit or less at normal atmospheric pressure. Compressed gases can be found in 3 forms: liquefied, non-liquefied, or cryogenic. They can also be flammable, non-flammable, or poisonous. A liquid having a flash point of not more than 141 degrees Fahrenheit, or any material in a liquid phase with a flash point at or above 100 degrees, is considered flammable. A combustible liquid will have a flash point between 141 and 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The obvious hazard with these liquids, whether flammable or combustible, is that they are ready to burn. This class includes all flammable solids and materials which are spontaneously combustible and dangerous when wet. Oxidizers and organic peroxides are materials that may generally, by yielding oxygen, cause or enhance the combustion of other materials explosively. Poisonous materials are chemicals other than gases that are known to be toxic. An infectious substance is a viable microorganism or toxin which causes disease. Poisons must be placarded when transported in any quantity. However, infectious substances are not required to be placarded. Poisons have both a label and a placard, whereas infectious substances will only show a label. Radioactive materials release three kinds of radiation: alpha, beta, and gamma. Gamma will cause the most severe damage to humans. Corrosive materials are liquids or solids that cause visible destruction or irreversible alterations to human skin tissue at the site of contact, or is a liquid that has a severe corrosion rate on steel or aluminum. Miscellaneous materials are substances which are not covered by other classes and can present a hazard during transport.
Well, Captain Gary Umflett is our department's subject matter expert on steel chainsaws. Today he'll show us the proper care and maintenance of these tools.
I'm Gary Umflett here at Company 20, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the applications that we got, the latest in-service with the ladders. We had some minor issues, damaged some equipment, and I just wanted to try to clarify some different applications that are going on with the new saws here that we got here. The first one I'm going to touch base with you is on the chainsaw, this Rescue Magnum saw. There's two types of chains that we talked about even when we did the company in service some years ago. Is we have one here that's strictly for cutting trees. Say we have some storm damage or something like that, tree laying in the road, or we got some wood work to do inside of a house, maybe during overhaul. And then, of course, here is the RDR chain. This is a rescue chain. It's a carbide. It'll cut light gauge metal, does real good job on garage doors and stuff like that. Just remember stuff that I've seen, whether it's on a fire call or during a drill or something like that. Remember where your lock bars are. Remember where the hinges are. You know the construction of the doors. This unit will not deal with that heavy metal. I see that a lot with this chainsaw and everything. And if it hits that lock bar or it hits one of those hinges, the chainsaw is not going to be able to deal with something that heavy. This product right here is a multi-use tool, much like a Sawzall, extrication equipment, different tools for different jobs in reference to that. Now I'm going to move over here to the cutoff saws. This one right here we don't use a lot, but you notice it has two different wheels on it. They're both the same power heads. They're doing a good job right now. We're going to be upgrading these here in the near future, and you'll see a little bit about that later. I'll have a picture of that. On this one right here is you have the composite wheel. These composite wheels, they range anywhere between 12 and 14. We have some of these older wheels that are still in service. They're still good. It just means that it's a 12-inch versus a 14-inch wheel, and they don't have the depth of cut. Where you'd see these wheels used mostly, lock bars again, locks, hinges, heavy gauge metal, commercial doors, commercial fire doors or something like that. We have to cut through anything that falls into that category. I hate to use the 22 gauge, but basically anything thicker than that is what this would be used for. It's not a good wheel to use on a roof, as we know. A commercial roof that has tar membrane or basically tar and gravel unless you clear that off. And as everybody knows through this in-service that just took place, this wheel, as it's cooling itself, gets smaller. And that is a problem, especially with the depth of cut that you're trying to accomplish. Also, on the next wheel here is the DX wheel. This will not change as far as the diameter is concerned. It is made for light gauge metal, maybe like a aluminum door or a thin gauge commercial door or something like that we need to get through. But primary, what we want to use this wheel for is on the roof, commercial roof. As we all know through this in-service, it's better to go up there and clean the rubber membrane or the tar and gravel, or if it's got a wood overlay or wood decking or composite decking, whatever on there, whether it's this tool or this one. The quickest way, as they know, and they taught this in this last class, is to remove that surface and expose the decking in reference to your cut. The big issue that happened there where we had some damaged equipment, what happened is when they cut through the metal decking, they hit the top strings or the top stringers or whatever. It's basically a 2x2, maybe by 3/16 or a quarter. Either one of these saws will cut through that, whether it's the DX wheel or the chainsaw. That heavy gauge metal requires this type wheel, a composite wheel, which is designed to cut. It's a grinding wheel, and it will cut through a piece of 3-inch channel. You know, it'll take time, but it will do it, and that's what happens. Just remember in the back, and a lot of people seen this in there, when you're using these wheels right here and you're doing extensive amounts of cutting, say we're going to go through some security doors or something like that, you may want to turn around and load another one of these saws with this composite wheel, because as they've witnessed through training, I'm all for that, this wheel will start to get smaller, and then you'll lose your depth of cut. And you need to have another saw ready to relieve this saw. And then also remember, anytime you change a wheel or a chain, you always want to check the fluids, whether it's the fuel oil mix or the actual bar oil that's in this unit. Always, anytime you do a chain or wheel surface, always refuel, top off before you continue on. Because the last thing you want to do is be running this thing and then all of a sudden it runs out of fuel. And I'll follow this up with our new saws. We're in the process right now of upgrading, and I'll be getting one of those out to see it. I know Squad 10 has one of them on their truck. New Ladder 7 has a new 500i, and then I'll go over that in a separate Frontline in order to turn around and show you how to best start it. It's the top of the line equipment, and it's where we're moving in. A lot more powerful than this unit right here and weighs a lot less. And people that got their hands on it have really liked the unit. And also we're looking at upgrading from the DX wheel. We're looking at some different equipment. Always trying to improve the service out here as far as these units are concerned, and there's some new products out there and we're going to be giving them a shot, and all the guys on the ladder will get involved in it. I'm here to answer one of the questions I've received numerous times. I get a lot of calls on this one here, and it came up during the ladder in services, is why does this particular unit right here have so much problems or bog down when it's cutting a door more than it is like on a roof? What happens is when you look at cutting a roof versus a door, is the power head is actually setting flat on the surface like this, and that's the way we train y'all to do it. When you take the unit and you put it in the door and you're holding it like this, a lot of times what happens is the weight of the power head will creep. It'll start to twist unbeknownst to y'all, and as the RPM slows up on this wheel right here, what'll happen is if it gets slow enough, it'll start disengaging the clutch. It'll do it on both of them, but the big difference between why a chainsaw is so much faster than this is the side loading is only a 1/4 inch right here. That's all that's hitting it. If this saw was to twist in the material, it's only going to hit right here and hit here, and this thing has a lot of horsepower and it'll overcome that. If this unit right here was being used in a door, your ratio is the width of this. If it's a 12-inch or 14-inch, it could be anywhere between 10 or 14 inches, and what happens is the forces that are applied to the side of the wheel. I know it's very difficult. This unit weighs over 20 pounds. And when you're coming down there, if you can concentrate on keeping it straight as you're moving it down, with that, that will probably help you out tremendously, because people always ask me, and they say, hey, on the roof we don't have any problems because the unit is flat like this. It's not, you're holding it up like this, or you're trying to maneuver it. And then also a big thing that happens on it is the gyroing. That's the wheel spinning. People get that when they rev it up. The saw has that feel to it, and that's just something you're going to have to concentrate on, trying to keep the saw squared up with the cut line. It's nothing you can do about it, because you got to realize the saw is designed to cut like this, and when we put it up there sideways, it wants to twist, and that's what happens to it. And that's not a whole lot we can do. Just have to concentrate on your thing. Take small cuts, get tired, give it to somebody else. If you have any information that you need or contact, you can contact me here at Company 20. I'm on B shift, or you can call me, you can email me, and you know, I'll help you out and send you in the right direction. A lot of the product information that is available for these saws is on steel.com. You can pick it up on there if you want to look at it. And you know, as far as that, I get questions all the time about people asking me horsepower, torque, and all that. And with all the products they got, it's a little tough. I have to research it myself.
Well, my friends, the fitness challenge has come and gone, and I'm pleased to report our department is shrinking. You know, when we put out this fitness challenge 120 days or so ago, a lot of people said they were very interested in it, but they didn't want to be on camera. Well, that's when Howie stepped up to the plate and said, I'll put it all out, so to speak, on camera, and I'll take a chance and see if motivation by embarrassment would in fact maybe help me lose my weight and get a little more fit. Here's what happened. I must tell you, if many people decided to challenge me on camera, I would not have even made the top 5 weight loss winners, and I lost nearly 30 pounds. All of my numbers have improved markedly, and I can honestly tell you I feel much healthier. It's much easier to jump rope and for longer periods, as well as hit the pull-up bar or just simply knock out 75 push-ups in less than a minute. Big improvement there. My thanks to all who gave me encouragement and who gave other fellow department members the go-get-em attitude and support. Many people have asked, how did you do it? Well, here's what I learned over the last 120 days. This is what worked for me. 3 key words you need: motivation, focus, and commitment. 1 main goal and several along the way mini goals, and a way to measure and track your progress. And of course, a bathroom scale. First off, the hardest part is simply getting started and sticking to it. After 4 or 5 days, you start to develop what I call positive momentum. You start to see a little bit of weight loss, maybe a little less tightness in the belt, and therefore it kind of propels you to go forward. Secondly, I found out, as many of you probably know, carbs are not our friends when we're trying to lose weight. I think it's probably more important to cut out more carbs than it is fat grams. Either way, carbs or fat grams, need to cut out a lot of those. Some things that are very common sense. I've replaced a lot of red meat with a lot of white meat. I've replaced a lot of fast food joints, if you will, with much healthier meals. Never did I cut out everything for a continual time. Some of my favorite snacks I would eat, just not as often and not as much. Full strength sodas. I probably have what I used to have in 1 day, I have in 1 week, or maybe even 2 or 3 weeks. You just have to learn to find some foods that are what I call free foods and drinks that I call free drinks, where there's very limited calories in either one. So therefore, when you're hungry or thirsty, you can eat or drink as much of those as you want. That was a big key. Remember, no one has ever gained 10 pounds from eating 1 ice cream cone. The key word there is 1, and not 1 a day either. Over the last 120 days, I certainly had my share of cheat meals, but they were much less often, and when I did have them, I would eat less of them when I had them. So I still had an enjoyable time, just not as often. And I can tell you, once you get used to that, it really is much easier. And just briefly before we go here, a few strategy tips. Don't be gone all day long when you know that 5-6 hours after you've eaten, you're going to be at a mall near the food court, and it's still going to be another hour before you get home. The temptation to have fast food, pizza, burgers, whatever ice cream that is your weakness, your willpower is much more reduced when you're just starving and haven't eaten in 5-6 hours. So plan ahead as to where you're going to be when you're going to be hungry. You've had many people over the years tell you it's better to have smaller meals more often than larger meals, 2 or 3 times. I agree with that, and I think that also worked for me. The key is you've got to find what works for you, because if you're hungry all day long, it's only going to be a temporary diet as opposed to a lifestyle change that everyone keeps talking about. So there you have it. I've lost about 30 pounds or so, and I think I really can lose probably 10 more, but I've been doing it gradually, and it really hasn't been that difficult. Once you get the positive momentum, it really makes it easier to stay motivated and say, hey, you know what, I ate a little too much at that favorite restaurant last night. I'm going to cool it for a few days. And you must have that bathroom skill in there where you can closely monitor your progress, so when you do slip a couple of pounds, you can bring yourself right back in check. One of the meals that the guys at the station are definitely tired of watching me eat is chicken, broccoli, or green beans, and a very small amount of mashed potatoes, which is my pizza, if you will, to most of you. Tremendous amount of unsweetened applesauce. Before, it used to be Oreos or Reese's Cups. Now it's unsweetened applesauce. A lot of people question how healthy diet sodas are. I can tell you this, if you're trying to lose weight, they're much better than full-strength sodas. Howie is a hamburger junkie. I love hamburgers. The thicker, the better. I can tell you, I've cut those out of my diet at least 80%, and when I do have them, they usually are a lot smaller. Anyways, I hope this has somewhat helped you. It definitely helped me without the fear of gaining weight on camera and telling everyone I was going to do it. I don't know if I would have had the motivation to be successful at it. So to all those guys out there that I've seen that have lost even more weight than me, wow, great job, keep it up. Especially in our job, it's a great thing to do. And hopefully we'll have a challenge coming up before long. Maybe we can do who can do the most push-ups in a minute or so, and we can get a lot more participation. I certainly understand people not wanting to be on camera. Many times I don't want to be there, and everyone out there right now might be saying this is a good time to get off. So with that, I will get off and say thanks very much, and let's get back to something that has to do with training. Up next, it's the SCBA checklist with Dave Stites.
The Smart Dock is a hands-free, self-contained breathing apparatus holder for fire apparatus which uses inertia to keep the claws locked during deceleration. This action ensures that the Smart Dock system will hold an SCBA bottle during an impact caused by a crash. During normal operation, the Smart Dock head should just touch the top of an SCBA air cylinder. If it does not, contact me in the air room to have the bracket adjusted. Use the following steps to safely ride in the seat when traveling to a fire. Note, you should only ride with the SCBA installed in the seat. 1. Wear bunker gear prior to entering the cab. 2. Enter cab safely using 3 points of contact method. 3. Wear air pack that is stored in the seat back. 4. Leave the SCBA pack harness loose until you exit the seat. 5. Buckle seat belt. 6. Indicate to driver that you are buckled safely in the seat. 7. Do not unbuckle seat belt until the vehicle has come to a stop, the parking brake is engaged, and the officer indicates it is safe to exit the cab. 8. Exit the seat by bending forward at the waist to release the Smart Dock, and then tighten the pack harness straps. If you prefer to pull the SCBA out of the bracket while standing on the steps, you must mimic the gentle rollout from the top motion, or you will cause damage to the SCBA bracket. A slow, gentle rollout, bending at the waist, is the only sure way to keep the frame of the SCBA from being damaged.
Well, that does it for this edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter. I'm your host, Howie, signing off saying stay safe out there, and we hope to see you next time. And remember, motivation is a requirement for success, not failure.